Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're talking about my Week 9 tight end starter sits for the 2019 fantasy football season. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about only tight ends, talking about the matchups going into Week 9, and my top 12 tight end rankings on the week. Before we begin today's episode, let me remind all of you, there are timestamps down in the description. If you guys haven't yet already, please click that subscribe button. Maybe go to your parents' Google account and click that subscribe. Maybe go to your cousin's Google account, click that subscribe button. Help us get to 12,000 subscribers. I really appreciate it, guys, for all of you who have continued to support the channel. If you haven't yet already, click the subscribe button, click the bell notification button to stay up to date. And also, if you like today's video, click the like button. All right, hey everybody, how's it going? Hopefully you've already seen the quarterback video. If you haven't yet already, there's a couple pieces of news or information that I talked about over there that could be valuable to you, so go check that out. I appreciate that. All right, so we're talking about the tight end position. We're talking about my top 12 tight ends of the week that I believe this is the way it's probably going to go. We've seen a little bit of some resurgence of Travis Kelce last week, despite the absence of a Patrick Mahomes. That is always fun. We get some tight ends back from bye week, but we are going to be missing, a couple tight ends here and there. Whoever, what would it be? Jared Cook. We're going to be missing, Gerald Everett, Austin Hooper, Tyler Eifert this week. So 4 kind of valuable tight ends, especially guys who had decent weeks last week, that are not going to be on today's list. But we have some pretty good tight ends here, and hopefully a couple guys that you can have or pick up on your waivers to help you guys win the week. All right, but either way, we're going to talk about the matchups at the tight end position. Number 1, as per usual, it is the Arizona Cardinals. But as of late, the Arizona Cardinals have been pretty decent against the tight end position because Evan Engram didn't want to do anything. Then this past week, Josh Hill couldn't get anything going. But all in all, I do believe there is a good matchup in the near future of George Kittle. I mean, George Kittle gets to play this team twice in the next 3 weeks. From what we've seen earlier on in the season, I mean, Austin Hooper went for over 100 yards and a touchdown on this defense. TJ Hockenson went for over 100 yards and a touchdown. So did Mark Andrews. Greg Olsen went for 75 and 2. Will Disley went for 57 and 1. We've seen even Rhett Ellison catch, 2 receptions for 33 yards and a touchdown against this defense. Recently, they have been better against the tight end position, but because Evan Ingram's absence and the absence of a Jared Cook, I do believe that is the reasoning. And that is why the averages of how many points they give up to opposing tight ends has kind of decreased. It used to be 22.5. Now it's 16. Or is it 18? I got to max this out. It's 18. Okay, Andrew couldn't see. I do think George Kittle is going to be fantastic. There's a reason why he's in my number 1 this week. Should be good. Tampa Bay cannot stop a soul in terms of the tight end position. There is a reason why Jonnu Smith had such a good week last week. It's not by accident. Also, the issue is the Seahawks don't have a tight end. If Will Disley was in the league, I think he might be the number 1 tight end as of right now. I'm not even kidding. He probably would be. Unfortunately, this team didn't go out and trade for a tight end. That's a big loss by them, and they're going to regret that. But all in all, I do think the Tampa Bay matchup, it might be juicy, but no one's going to be really taking advantage of that. The Oakland matchup. This is something that I kind of wanted to point out to you guys. TJ Hockenson this coming week gets to play against the Oakland defense. And what if the Oakland defense allowed in the last couple of weeks? Well, they've allowed a lot of points. This past week, Darren Fells, 58 yards on 6 receptions and 2 receiving touchdowns. The week before, Jimmy Graham, 4 receptions, 65 yards and a touchdown. The week before that, even against the Chicago Bears, Trey Burton, 3 for 3 and 16 yards. That's like his best game of the year, right? Then the week before that, Eric Ebron and Jack Doyle both scored touchdowns in that single game. Travis Kelce had a big game against them in week 2 earlier on in the season. We have seen, pretty good or decent tight ends play well against them, and better tight ends that are targeted more often have pretty good games. Hockenson might have a week. He may have won or may have been a nominee for the Harry Houdini Award earlier on in the midseason award episode, but could make a comeback here. Just saying. Other than that, the Seattle Seahawks, I don't know if any Tampa Bay tight ends even playing this week. Cameron Brate and O.J. Howard both missed practice multiple times this week, so that's a iffy situation. We get the Dallas Cowboys, who give up a lot of points to the opposing tight ends. If you guys don't remember, Evan Engram had a huge week 1 against this team. Could happen once again. The Green Bay Packers playing against Hunter Henry. That's juicy. The Indianapolis Colts playing against a Vance McDonald. I don't know if that's going to even end up going anywhere because Vance McDonald didn't even do anything last week. And then we get the Pittsburgh Steelers opposite side of that situation with Eric Ebron potentially having himself a good game. The Los Angeles Rams on a bye week. The Detroit Lions giving up a lot of points to opposing tight ends. Darren Waller only helps him going forward. All right, so other than that, let's go ahead. Let's talk about my top 12 tight end rankings on said week. We have here my number 1, George Kittle, playing against the Cardinals. Pretty much already made the argument for him. You play against the Cardinals. I mean, who else is going to catch the ball in this offense? Emmanuel Sanders, sure. Maybe a couple running backs out of the backfield. But the most work Deebo Samuel saw last week was a rushing touchdown. The most work Dante Pettis saw was one touch. I mean, I swear to God, I think he almost caught only one ball. Something like that. Dante Pettis doesn't exist. There is no receivers in this offense. There's George Kittle, and then there's some running backs that can catch. That is it. So George Kittle, you're my number 1 on the week playing against the Cardinals on Thursday night. Have a good night here. All right, moving on to number 2, Evan Engram. The last time Evan Engram played against the Dallas Cowboys, well, that was earlier this year. 14 targets, 11 receptions, 116 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown. He's a monster, especially against the linebackers of the Cowboys defense. I think Van Der Esch should be fully healthy. I know he was dealing with a neck injury a couple weeks back. I think the bye week is surpassed. I think Van Der Esch will be fine. But I don't think, whoever is out there, Van Der Esch, Lee, Jalen Smith, does not matter. They're going to have a tough time covering Evan Engram because they typically have going throughout the history of when Evan Engram has played against his defense. And I think Evan Engram poised to have another big week. He's my number 2. Moving on to number 3, Darren Waller. Like I mentioned earlier, Darren Waller takes on the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions are not a team that is not, they're giving up points to everybody. Defensively, on the ground, through the air, doesn't matter. In the last couple weeks, they've given up a pretty good amount of points to opposing tight ends. This past week, Evan Engram, 4 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown. Boom, over 10 points. The week before that, Irv Smith Jr., the rookie, had 6 targets, 5 receptions for 60 yards. The guy didn't catch a touchdown, sure, but the guy barely even touches the ball in the passing game, much less. And Rudolph also had a good game there, too. The week with 58 receiving yards and a touchdown. So the tight end position, as of late, it's been working against this defense, and I think Darren Waller should be fine. He is almost the number 1 target majority of the time for this offense, so he should be good. He's my number 3. Moving on to number 4, Travis Kelce. Kelce's back as the number 2 tight end in terms of scoring points. Will he maintain that? It's going to be a question of whether or not this game becomes a higher scoring affair. I do believe it's going to be something of that nature, and I think it's going to be difficult for a defense like this. Maybe Anthony Barr is covering Travis Kelce, but I do think Travis Kelce is going to find himself a good amount of points here. I have a hard time not playing him. So he sits at 4 because it's a conservative play because I do think the guys above him, if you're playing like a DFS, I prefer to have any of the guys above him than him this week. And I think he might be just a little too expensive in that kind of a format. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about number 5, Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry, the issue with Hunter Henry is the offense in general. The offense sometimes just cannot move the ball, and that hurts Hunter Henry. Even though like a lot of his production, especially last week, was found in the second half and late in the fourth, he was pretty quiet for the majority of that game. He still saw 6 targets, 4 receptions, 47 receiving yards. That's great, but we want more, right? We are accustomed to seeing these better end or echelon tight ends have at least 8+ points every week. And I think we're going to find that this week at home against the Green Bay Packers. Hunter Henry should be fine. Should be good to go. Moving on, Mark Andrews coming off a bye week playing against the New England Patriots. It's going to be a tough matchup. New England, they can shut down anyone they want. There's been, times in the past where they'll just double cover Travis Kelce and not let him do anything. And that has come and gone, and teams just have to deal with that. I'm not sure if Mark Andrews will be the target of what they're trying to slow down. Potentially could be the target that they do want to avoid allowing Lamar Jackson to throw the ball to. But only time will tell. I still think if Mark Andrews isn't going to be focused, keyed in on, he could have a very good week here because he is the number 1 wide receiver or receiving option for this offense. Should be good to go as my number 6. Moving on to number 7, TJ Hockenson. Like I mentioned earlier, this defense for the Detroit Lions has been giving up a lot of points to opposing tight ends. I think this is a big week for Hockenson. And this entire passing offense, whether it's Golladay, Amendola, Marvin Jones, or Hockenson, I think all 4 of them have the potential of having a big week here. And I think Hockenson is, I think it might be his week to finally find some resurgence. For those of you who are looking, and potentially he's sitting on your waivers, could be a decent option. Moving on to number 8, Darren Fells. Darren Fells is the tight end. touchdown fiend. As of right now, I don't know if anybody has just as many touchdowns as him. Perhaps there's someone tied with him. Let's see. Darren Fells has somehow managed to find his way with 5 receiving touchdowns. The only other tight end that has that mark or is tied with him is Austin Hooper, who's the number 1 tight end. So yes, this guy's getting work. On 23 receptions, has 5 receiving touchdowns. That's an incredible number. And as much as he continues to see work in the red zone, that's where the majority of his work is coming from, he's a pretty good tight end. And he's continuing to get more and more work over the weeks. Atkins, who was the tight end over him because Darren Fells typically has been a blocking tight end, Atkins has pretty much disappeared. It is all Darren Fells all the way. And I think going forward should be decent in said matchup. Moving on to number 9, Greg Olsen plays against the Titans. Titans defense, they're not great against the tight end position. They haven't been fantastic thus far this season, and I don't think it's going to change. I think as of the last couple weeks, they have gotten better because they haven't played that many good tight ends. But earlier on in the year, if we go back, we saw David Njoku score a touchdown. Eric Ebron score a touchdown. James O'Shaughnessy score a touchdown. We had Austin Hooper go for 130 receiving yards against his team. Lee Smith, the Buffalo tight end, scored a touchdown against his team. We saw Hunter Henry with 97 receiving yards a couple weeks back. There is a possibility we could see Greg Olsen finally get re-implemented in this offense because this offense has been struggling as of late, and I do believe it's because of the absence of a Greg Olsen contribution, and maybe this is the week to finally get him back into your lineups and hope that he has a big week. He's my number 9. Moving on to number 10, Zach Ertz. I have a hard time putting Zach Ertz anywhere outside of top 10. That's just how it is, and I'm going to continue. I'm just going to ride or die with it. You could put Goddard there. Either one of the Eagles tight ends. Flip the coin, see who you figure out, and maybe not even either of them, but as of right now, I don't really have much commentary on it. I just got to hope that the Eagles come to their senses and finally want to target this guy because he is an extremely talented tight end, and it's unbelievable. Moving on to number 11, Eric Ebron in an extremely easy matchup. Playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think there is a good chance that Eric Ebron and or Jack Doyle has a good game here. Obviously, I prefer Eric Ebron because he does go out for more routes. He gets more opportunity in the passing game. And he is the better receiving target of the bunch, especially down in the red zone. So he should be decent. Moving on to the last option on this week, Jimmy Graham. If, in fact, Davante Adams is in or out, I don't think it really matters. I think, in fact, if Davante Adams is in the game, a lot of defenses are going to key in on trying to stop that. And it could often, give Jimmy Graham an opportunity to find himself open in the red zone, open in the middle of the field, wherever it may be, because a lot of defenses are going to be focused on stopping Aaron Jones, stopping or at least sending a pass rush to stop Aaron Rodgers and stopping Davante Adams. It could leave Jimmy Graham with a pretty decent opportunity this week. He's my number 12. Those are my top 12 tight ends on the week. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Again, this is a shorter video as it is only 12 players, and it is typically guys that you either have them and you're instantly starting them, and that's how the cookie crumbles, at least for this week. Or it's Halloween, so that's how the candy crumbles in the bottom of the bag after I step on it and throw it away because it's garbage. What? I didn't say that. I love candy. Everybody, happy Halloween. Hopefully everyone's day goes great. Signing out here. If you guys haven't checked out the quarterback video, go check that out. If you haven't checked out the midseason awards, check that out. Sunday morning, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will be doing a live stream talking about my updated rankings and week 9, Sunday morning, kind of stuff like that. So again, thank you guys again for watching. And until next time, I'll see you guys. Peace.